Let me ask you something uncomfortable. If business is so easy today, if there are more tools, more platforms, more opportunities than ever before, then why are 99% of entrepreneurs still broke? Why do most people work for years, post daily, launch offers, build websites, and still struggle to make consistent money? It's not because they're stupid. It's not because the market is saturated. It's not because they lack motivation. It's because they're playing the wrong game. They're chasing followers instead of revenue. They're building brands instead of skills. They're looking busy instead of being effective. And the brutal truth, the top 1% aren't smarter than you. They just understand rules you've never been taught. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to beat 99% of entrepreneurs, not with hacks, not with motivation, but with structure, strategy, and psychological dominance. If you stay until the end, you won't just understand why most people fail, you'll know exactly how to separate yourself permanently. Let's begin. Most entrepreneurs are not failing because they lack intelligence, capital, connections, or opportunity. They are failing because they are playing business like a hobby instead of a weapon. There is a massive difference between wanting success and structuring your life to earn it. And 99% never understand that difference. The majority of entrepreneurs are busy every day. They wake up early, they watch motivational content, they tweak their website, they redesign their logo, they change their bio, they think about content strategies, they scroll through competitors, they brainstorm ideas. And at the end of the month, revenue hasn't moved. Why? Because motion feels productive, but only leverage creates results. Business is not about effort. It is about effectiveness, and effectiveness comes from solving painful, expensive problems. Most people choose businesses based on what they like. They start a clothing brand because they like working out. They launch a coaching offer because they think mindset is interesting, but markets do not reward what you enjoy. Markets reward what removes pain. If someone has a minor inconvenience, they will not pay much to fix it. If someone has a problem that costs them money, status, time, or emotional stability, they will pay aggressively to eliminate it. That is the difference between average income and elite income. The entrepreneurs who dominate do not ask, what do I want to sell? They ask, what problem is so painful that people are actively searching for relief? That single shift in thinking already puts you ahead of most people trying to start something. And here's where it becomes uncomfortable again. Most people are afraid to go after big problems because big problems require big responsibility. It's easier to sell something small with low expectations. It feels safer. But safety does not build dominance. Safety builds stagnation. If you want to beat 99% of entrepreneurs, you must become obsessed with increasing the real value you deliver. Not perceived hype, not aesthetics, not branding tricks, real value. Value is not what you think it is. Value is not how much effort you put in. Value is not how long you worked on something. Value is how much closer you move someone toward the outcome they desperately want and how confident they feel that you can actually get them there. Think about this carefully. If you can help someone make more money, save more time, reduce stress, improve health, or increase status, you control leverage. Those are universal drivers of human behavior. And the bigger the transformation, the bigger the opportunity. But 99% of entrepreneurs never focus long enough on one transformation to master it. They jump from idea to idea, they pivot every 3 months, they chase trends, they try dropshipping, then crypto, then AI automation, then agency, then content creation, and they wonder why nothing compounds. Compounding only happens when focus is applied over time. The top 1% win because they stay in the game long enough to get good, and they get good because they choose a painful problem and refuse to leave until they can solve it better than anyone else in their market. Here's another harsh truth. Most entrepreneurs underprice themselves because they are unsure of their own value. When you don't deeply understand the problem you solve, you lack conviction. And when you lack conviction, your pricing reflects insecurity. Low conviction leads to low prices. Low prices attract low commitment clients. Low commitment clients create low results. And that cycle keeps you average. Beating 99% requires raising standards. Higher standards for your offer. Higher standards for your output, higher standards for your discipline. And discipline is where most people collapse. They want results without repetition. They want revenue without rejection. They want status without skill building. But business rewards those who can tolerate boredom and discomfort longer than everyone else. If you can show up daily and improve your offer slightly every single day for a year, you will beat almost everyone. Not because you're more talented, but because most people quit when it gets slow, quiet, or hard. The early phase of business is not glamorous, it is repetitive, it is humbling, it is uncertain, you will doubt yourself. You will question your strategy, you will compare yourself to other. Yes, that is normal. What separates winners from the 99% is not the absence of doubt, it is the refusal to retreat. And here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop trying to win fast, start trying to win long. When you stop obsessing over immediate results and start focusing on becoming undeniably skilled, your entire strategy changes. You stop chasing hacks, you start mastering fundamentals. You stop copying competitors, you start understanding customers. The best entrepreneurs are not creative geniuses, they are problem-solving machines. They talk to customers, they listen to objections, they analyze failures, they refine messaging, they improve delivery, they simplify offers. They repeat this process until conversion becomes predictable. Predictability is power. If you can predictably turn effort into revenue, you are no longer gambling, you are operating. And the reason 99% never reach that stage is because they quit before systems replace emotion. They make decisions based on mood instead of metrics. If sales are slow for a week, they pivot. If a post flops, they doubt the entire strategy. If someone criticizes them, they shrink. But markets do not reward emotional volatility. They reward stability and iteration. So if you want to beat 99% of entrepreneurs, understand this. The game is not about brilliance. It is about endurance paired with intelligent D adjustment. Choose a painful problem, build a solution so valuable it feels irrational to refuse. Stay focused long enough to refine it, raise your standards higher than your competition. And most importantly, stop trying to look successful and start trying to become useful. Because usefulness scales. Ego doesn't. Most entrepreneurs don't have a traffic problem. They don't have a marketing problem. They don't even have a sales problem. They have an offer problem. And until you fix your offer, nothing else matters. You can run ads, you can post daily, you can hire a sales team. But if what you're selling is average, you will get average results. The market is brutally efficient at ignoring mediocre offers. The reason 99% of entrepreneurs struggle is because they create offers around what is easy for them to deliver instead of what is powerful for the customer to receive. That distinction changes everything. Most people ask, what can I sell? Top operators ask, what transformation can I guarantee? People do not buy services, they buy outcomes. They buy relief, they buy progress, they buy certainty. If your offer is vague, your revenue will be vague. If your promise is weak, your conversions will be weak. You must define the exact result someone gets. Not fitness coaching, not business consulting, not social media help. Those are categories, not outcomes. Instant. It's lose 10 kilograms in 16 weeks without extreme dieting. Add $20,000 per month in new revenue within 90 days. Generate 30 qualified leads per week without paid ads. Now, here's where most people get uncomfortable. They hesitate to make bold promises because they fear failing. But here's the truth. Unclear promises are already failure. Clarity attracts, vagueness repels. If you want to dominate, you must reverse engineer the dream outcome of your target customer. What do they truly want? Not what they say publicly, what they think about at night. What stresses them, what embarrasses them, what frustrates them. Your job is to reduce the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And the faster you can do that with less effort required from them, the more valuable you become. People don't just want results. They want results quickly and with minimal friction. That's human psychology. We all want progress without pain. So instead of arguing with that reality, build around it. Ask yourself, how can I shorten the time it takes them to win? How can I reduce the complexity of the process? How can I increase their confidence that this will work for them? That last question is powerful. Most potential customers are not thinking, is this valuable? They're thinking, will this work for me? So your offer must remove doubt before they even speak to you. You do that by stacking proof, removing risk, and increasing support. Proof can come from case studies, testimonials, data, or even detailed breakdowns of how the process works. The more tangible you make the transformation, the more believable it becomes. Risk reversal is another weapon most entrepreneurs underuse. If you are confident in your product, you should be willing to shoulder some of the risk. Guarantees work because they shift fear away from the buyer. And then there's support. The more hand-holding, accountability, and structure you build into your offer, the easier it becomes for someone to say yes. People pay more for clarity and guidance. Here's the key insight. You don't make more money by charging less. You make more money by increasing the value of what you deliver. Instead of lowering your price to compete, increase what they receive, add resources, add community, add templates, add faster feedback. Add personalization. When someone compares your offer to a cheaper alternative and sees dramatically more value, price becomes secondary. But remember this carefully. Adding value does not mean adding random bonuses. It means adding things that increase the probability of success. Everything in your offer should answer one question. Does this help them win faster or easier? If it does not, it's noise. Now let's address something critical. Many entrepreneurs build offers once and then never improve them. That is a massive mistake. Your first version will not be perfect. It shouldn't be. The goal is to launch, collect feedback, and iterate aggressively. Every objection you hear is data. Every refund is data. Every complaint is data. The top 1% treat feedback like gold. The 99% treat it like an insult. Detach your ego from your offer. You are not your product. If something doesn't convert, it's not a personal attack. It's a signal to improve. Here's another advanced move. Increase the perceived value before they ever see the price. If someone fully understands the transformation, sees proof, believes in the process, and feels supported, the price becomes small in comparison to the outcome. But if they see the price before they understand the value, resistance increases. Educate before you sell. Demonstrate authority before you pitch. Show depth before you ask for commitment. This is how you build dominance without desperation. Most struggling entrepreneurs try to convince winning entrepreneurs pre-frame. They position themselves as the logical choice long before the buying moment arrives. When your offer is structured correctly, marketing becomes easier. Sales calls peak, shorter, objections decrease, confidence increases. And here's the final truth about offer domination. You must believe in it completely. If you would not enthusiastically recommend your own offer to someone you care about, it is not strong enough yet. Refine it until you would. Because once your offer is powerful enough, you no longer chase customers. Customers chase outcomes. Now we get to the part nobody wants to hear about. Execution. This is where 99% lose the game, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack sustained intensity and structured discipline. Everyone likes talking about strategy. Everyone likes discussing offers. Everyone loves planning, but business rewards output, not ideas. The brutal reality is this. Most entrepreneurs dramatically overestimate how hard they're working and severely underestimate how hard winning actually requires you to work, especially in the beginning. There is a phase in every business where effort must exceed ego. You will do things that don't feel glamorous. You will send messages manually. You will follow up relentlessly. You will make calls. You will create content consistently, even when nobody watches. You will refine scripts. You will test headlines. You will improve your pitch over and over again. And most people quit in this phase because the rewards are delayed. The winners don't. Here's the S. HIFT that separates professionals from amateurs. Amateurs work when they feel motivated. Professionals work based on structure. If you only execute when you feel inspired, you will always be inconsistent. And inconsistency kills momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in business. When you generate consistent activity, you create consistent feedback. When you create consistent feedback, you improve faster. And when you improve faster, you outpace everyone who is operating emotionally. The top 1% do not rely on discipline alone. They build systems that make discipline automatic. Instead of asking, do I feel like prospecting today? They set a non-negotiable number. Instead of asking, should I post content? They create a schedule and follow it regardless of mood. Instead of hoping sales increase, they track daily leading indicators. And that's something most entrepreneurs completely ignore. Leading indicators versus lagging indicators. Revenue is a lagging indicator. It tells you what already happened. But calls made, messages sent, ads launched, content posted, those are leading indicators. They predict revenue. If you control the inputs daily, the outputs eventually become predictable. Most entrepreneurs stare at their bank account and panic. Elite entrepreneurs stare at their activity metrics and adjust. That difference alone separates emotional operators from strategic operators. Now let's talk about intensity. There's a myth that you can casually build something meaningful, that you can balance your way to dominance. Early on, that is rarely true. In the beginning, business is a survival game. It requires obsession. It requires thinking about the problem constantly. It requires caring more than your competitors care. You are not competing against lazy people. You are competing against hungry people, against people who will outwork you if you give them the chance. So the question becomes, how do you sustain intensity without burning out? The answer is clarity. Burnout usually doesn't come from working hard. It comes from working hard without direction. When effort feels random, exhaustion increases. When effort feels targeted, energy increases. If you know that every call improves your skill, every post builds authority, every refinement increases conversion, then work stops feeling like suffering and starts feeling like progress. Progress is addictive. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Most entrepreneurs avoid the few activities that actually move the needle. They hide behind design. They hide behind planning. They hide behind learning. But the highest leverage activities in most early stage businesses are uncomfortable. Sales, outreach, follow-up, direct communication. You cannot outsource courage. Until revenue is consistent, founders must stay close to the front lines. You must understand objections directly. You must hear the hesitations. You must experience rejection. Rejection is not a sign to stop. It is a signal to refine. Every no contains information. Maybe the offer wasn't clear. Maybe the pricing wasn't justified. Maybe urgency wasn't created. Maybe trust wasn't built. But if you avoid exposure to rejection, you avoid the fastest path to improvement. Now let's talk about focus, because distraction is the silent killer of execution. There are more opportunities today than ever before, new platforms, new tools, new business models, and every week there's another trend telling you to pivot. The 99% chase what is new, the 1% exploit what works. Once you identify a working acquisition channel, double down. Once you find a converting message, amplify it. Once you validate an offer, refine it instead of replacing it. Depth beats variety, mastery beats novelty. If you want to crush 99% of entrepreneurs, eliminate unnecessary decisions. Simplify your model. One target audience, one core problem, one strong offer, one primary acquisition channel. Scale focus before you scale complexity. Another execution principle most people ignore is speed of implementation. You do not get paid for ideas. You get paid for implementation velocity. If you learn something valuable today and apply it next month, you've already lost momentum. Speed compounds advantage. The faster you test, the faster you learn. The faster you learn, the faster you optimize. And here's the final piece of execution most people never build. Resilience to boredom. At some point, business becomes repetitive, same calls, same conversations, same processes, and that's where many entrepreneurs subconsciously sabotage themselves. They crave novelty, so they create chaos. But boredom is often a sign that you are close to mastery. If something feels repetitive, it means you are stabilizing it, and stability creates scalability. The entrepreneurs who win are not the most emotional. They are not the most creative. They are not even the most talented. They're the ones who can execute at a high level for longer than everyone else without losing focus. They show up when it's quiet. They work when it's slow. They refine when others relax. They push when others pause. And over months, not days, that gap becomes impossible to close. Execution is not glamorous, but it is the separating line between potential and dominance. At this point, you understand problems, offers, and execution. But none of it matters long-term if your psychology is weak. Because business is not a strategy game. It's an emotional endurance test disc. Guised as a strategy game, the reason most entrepreneurs never break into the top 1% is not lack of information. It's lack of emotional control over long periods of uncertainty. Winning in business requires you to operate confidently while results are invisible. Think about that. For months, sometimes years, you will be putting in effort that does not immediately reflect in your bank account. You will improve your skill before you see financial reward. You will build assets before they compound. You will refine systems before they scale. And during that invisible phase, most people panic. They compare themselves to others. They scroll social media and see highlight reels. They assume everyone else is moving faster. They question whether they chose the right niche, the right offer, the right strategy. And doubt is expensive, not because doubt exists, but because doubt causes reaction, and reaction causes inconsistency. The entrepreneurs who permanently beat 99% are not the most fearless. They simply do not allow emotion to override process. They understand a fundamental principle: feelings are temporary, systems are permanent. If your daily behavior changes based on how you feel, your business will always be fragile. But if your daily behavior is anchored to structure, metrics, and long-term targets, emotion becomes background noise. This is where identity becomes critical. If you see yourself as trying entrepreneurship, you will quit when it gets uncomfortable. If you see yourself as an operator, someone who solves problems and builds systems, quitting is not an option. It's not dramatic. It's simply not aligned with who you are. Identity drives behavior more powerfully than motivation ever will. And here's something very few people talk about. Your environment silently determines your ceiling. If you constantly surround yourself with average thinking, average ambition becomes normal. If everyone around you complains about the economy, blames algorithms, criticizes wealthy people, or mocks ambition, that energy seeps into your expectations. Your standards will unconsciously adjust to match your environment. To permanently stay ahead, you must intentionally upgrade your inputs. That means who you listen to, what you consume, what conversations you engage in, and what expectations you normalize. Exposure expands belief. When you consistently expose yourself to high-level thinking, disciplined operators, and serious builders, your internal standard shifts. What once felt extreme starts feeling normal. And once something feels normal, execution becomes easier. Now let's talk about patience, the most misunderstood advantage in business. Most entrepreneurs want explosive growth. They want virality. They want rapid scaling. And while rapid growth can happen, sustainable dominance usually looks boring from the outside. It looks like steady improvement, slightly better conversion rates, slightly better messaging, slightly stronger margins, slightly higher customer retention. Tiny optimizations compounded over time create massive separation. But that only works if you are patient enough to stay in the game. Patience does not mean passivity. It means aggressive action paired with long-term expectation. You work intensely, but you measure success over years, not weeks. When you stretch your time horizon, pressure decreases. When clarity increases, decisions improve. This alone gives you an edge over reactive competitors. Another psychological edge is detachment from validation. In the early stages, you will not get applause. You may not get support. Some people may even question your direction. If your confidence depends on external validation, you will constantly fluctuate. You must learn to validate yourself through adherence to your process. Did you hit your daily activity target? Did you improve your skills slightly today? Did you refine your offer? Did you follow up when it was uncomfortable? If yes, you are winning, even if revenue hasn't caught up yet. Revenue is a lagging indicator of value delivered consistently over time. Now, here's a long-term principle most people ignore. Build assets, not just I. Income requires effort. Assets produce income with leverage. Your brand is an asset. Your audience is an asset. Your systems are assets. Your trained team is an asset. Your reputation is an asset. If you only chase short-term cash, you stay trapped in constant activity. If you only chase short-term cash, you stay trapped in constant activity. If you build assets deliberately, your effort compounds. The top 1% think in terms of leverage. How can this piece of content bring opportunities for years? How can this system reduce manual effort permanently? How can this hire multiply by output? How can this customer become recurring revenue instead of one-time revenue? Leverage creates freedom, and freedom creates strategic advantage. But leverage requires delayed gratification, and that's the ultimate separator. Most people cannot delay gratification long enough to build something meaningful. They want comfort now, results now, recognition now. The elite trade comfort today for dominance tomorrow. They sacrifice short-term ease for long-term optionality. They invest in skills that pay them forever. They endure obscurity while they build substance. And over time, the market rewards depth because eventually trends fade. Hacks stop working, algorithms change, but skill remains, systems remain, reputation remains. If you want to permanently beat 99% of entrepreneurs, stop thinking about how to win this month. Start thinking about who you must become to dominate for a decade. Become harder to outwork, become harder to ignore, become harder to replace, stack skills relentlessly, communication, sales negotiation, leadership, marketing, financial literacy. Every new skill increases your strategic options. Optionality is power. When you have multiple ways to generate revenue, multiple channels to acquire customers, multiple skills to pivot intelligently, fear decreases. And when fear decreases, performance increases. Finally, understand this. The game never actually ends. There is no final arrival point where everything becomes easy forever. There are new levels, new problems, new responsibilities. But if you build the psychology to handle pressure, uncertainty, and growth, those problems become exciting instead of threatening. Business rewards those who evolve, and evolution requires humility, the willingness to admit you can improve, and confidence, the belief that you will. That combination is rare, but if you commit to it, you don't just beat 99% once, you stay ahead, and that's the real win.